Welcome back to Firepower. For the last 15 years, the hunting industry has pushed one idea. Newer cartridges are better, faster, and more advanced. But something strange keeps happening in the real world. Hunters keep going back to a cartridge designed in 1906, the .30-06. So here's the uncomfortable question. Have we been chasing hype while ignoring what actually works? Today, we break down why this century-old cartridge still outperforms modern miracle rounds where it truly matters in the field. If you pay attention to the industry, you'll start to notice a pattern. A new cartridge comes out, the 6.5 Creedmoor, then the 7mm PRC, then the next wave of short magnums. Each one is introduced with the same promise: better ballistics, better efficiency, better performance. And for a while, the hype works. Shooters adopt it, content explodes online, and suddenly it feels like the old cartridges are obsolete. But then something happens. The excitement fades, another better cartridge replaces it, and the cycle starts all over again. What most people miss is this: marketing and real-world performance are not the same thing. A cartridge can look incredible on paper and still offer very little advantage in the field. And that leads to a simple but important truth: new doesn't mean better, it just means newer. To understand why the .30-06 refuses to fade away, you have to look at where it came from. This wasn't a cartridge designed in a marketing meeting. It was born in 1906 as a military round, built for reliability, consistency, and real-world performance under pressure. And after proving itself on the battlefield, it made a seamless transition into the hunting world. For decades, it became the go-to choice for everything from white-tailed deer in thick woods to elk in the mountains and even moose in harsh conditions. Few cartridges can claim that level of versatility across so many environments and game animals. But beyond the numbers, there's something else at play here: trust. Generations of hunters have relied on the .30-06 and passed that confidence down over time. And that leads to a simple conclusion: a cartridge doesn't last 100 years by accident. Now let's talk about the part that usually drives these conversations: ballistics. On paper, the .30-06 is no slouch. With common hunting loads in the 150 to 180 grain range, it's pushing roughly 2,700 to 2,900 feet per second and delivering around 2,800 to 3,000 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle. Those are serious numbers for any hunting cartridge. But when you compare it to modern magnums, the charts start to favor the newer rounds. They shoot flatter, carry more energy at extreme distances, and look more impressive in every measurable way. And that's where many hunters stop the conversation. But here's the problem: hunting is not done on a spreadsheet. It happens in unpredictable conditions, under pressure, with real variables that charts don't capture. And that's where perception starts to separate from reality, because ballistics look impressive until you step into the field. Here's the part that most hunters don't talk about enough: distance. When people imagine hunting with Magnum cartridges, they picture long shots across open valleys, stretching out to 500, 600, even 700 yards. But when you look at real-world data, a different story appears. The vast majority of animals are taken between 100 and 300 yards. And inside that distance window, the advantage of a Magnum cartridge shrinks dramatically. The difference in bullet drop is minimal. The difference in energy, while measurable, is often irrelevant for clean, ethical kills with proper shot placement. In other words, the gap that looks so big on paper starts to disappear in real hunting conditions, and that leads to a critical realization. Inside real hunting distances, the gap disappears. Now let's put the point 30-06 head-to-head with some of the most popular cartridges on the market. Start with the .308 Winchester. It's very similar in many ways, but the .30-06 holds an edge with slightly higher velocity and more energy, especially as distances increase along with a wider range of bullet weights. Then there's the 6.5 Creedmoor. It offers a higher ballistic coefficient and better wind performance, but it gives up noticeable terminal energy on larger game. And finally, the 7mm PRC, the new long-range favorite. It clearly wins on paper at extended distances, but that comes with trade-offs: more recoil, higher ammo cost, and limited availability. When you step back and look at all three, a pattern emerges. The .30-06 doesn't dominate in one category, but it performs well in all of them. And that balance is exactly why it continues to win. One of the most overlooked advantages of the .30-06 is its versatility, and this is where it quietly outperforms many modern cartridges. This is not a one-purpose round. With bullet weights ranging from roughly 125 all the way up to 220 grains, the .30-06 can be tuned for completely different hunting scenarios without changing rifles. For lighter game like white-tailed deer, a 150 to 165 grain bullet offers flat trajectory, manageable recoil, and reliable expansion. Step up to 180 grains, and you now have a setup that's ideal for elk, delivering deeper penetration and more consistent performance on larger animals. And when you move into serious big game territory like moose, heavier 200 grain loads provide the kind of sectional density and momentum needed for tough angles and thick bone. What makes this truly powerful is the simplicity. Instead of owning multiple rifles for different hunts, you can rely on one platform and simply adjust your load. That kind of flexibility is rare. Most cartridges are designed to specialize in one role. The .30-06 adapts. Now let's talk about one of the most underrated advantages of the .30-06, and it has nothing to do with ballistics. It's availability. This is a cartridge you can find almost anywhere. Small town hardware stores, local gun shops, big box retailers. It's almost always on the shelf, and that becomes even more important when the market gets tight. During ammo shortages, when newer or niche calibers like PRC cartridges disappear almost overnight, the .30-06 tends to stick around. Not because it's trendy, but because it's widely produced and consistently stocked. That reliability matters more than most hunters realize. Because when opening day is tomorrow, performance on paper doesn't help you if you can't find ammo. And that leads to a very simple but powerful truth. The best cartridge is not just the one that performs well, it's the one you can actually buy when you need it. Another factor that rarely gets enough attention is reliability in real-world conditions. The .30-06 was designed with a case shape that feeds smoothly and extracts reliably, even when things aren't perfect. And in hunting, things are rarely perfect. Cold weather, dust, moisture, and debris can all affect how a rifle performs. But the .30-06 has proven over decades that it continues to function when conditions start working against you. Whether it's running through a bolt-action rifle or even a semi-auto platform like the Browning Bar, it cycles consistently and predictably. That kind of dependability matters when you only get one chance at a shot. Because when the environment gets tougher, the last thing you want is equipment failure. And that leads to a simple truth. When conditions get worse, the 3006 becomes more valuable. There's also a psychological side to this conversation that most hunters don't like to admit. The constant push toward new cartridges creates the feeling that upgrading your gear automatically makes you a better shooter. Newer, faster, more advanced. It's easy to believe that performance comes from the equipment. And with social media and online trends constantly showcasing the latest setups, that pressure only increases. But in reality, the biggest factor in success isn't the cartridge, it's the shooter. Skill, consistency, and confidence behind the rifle matter far more than chasing the newest caliber on the market. And that leads to a hard truth many people overlook. You didn't need a new caliber, you needed more trigger time. When you step back and look at the full picture, the reason the .30-06 continues to win becomes very clear. It may not be the fastest cartridge, it may not have the highest ballistic coefficient or the most energy at extreme distances, but it does everything well. It has enough power for a wide range of game, recoil that most hunters can manage, availability almost anywhere, and the versatility to adapt to different hunting scenarios. On top of that, it carries over a century of proven performance in the real world. And that combination is hard to beat. Because the truth is, the .30-06 doesn't dominate, because it excels in one extreme category. It dominates because it delivers everything hunters actually need consistently and reliably. As we bring this all together, the final verdict becomes hard to ignore. The .30-06 isn't the fastest cartridge on the market, and it's definitely not the newest. But that's not why it continues to succeed. It wins because it's practical, it's reliable, and it delivers consistent performance in real hunting conditions, not just on paper. While modern cartridges chase extreme ballistics, the .30-06 focuses on what actually matters, putting accurate, effective shots on game when it counts. And that leads to one final conclusion. The .30-06 didn't beat modern cartridges on a spreadsheet. It beat them where it matters most, in the field. Now I want to hear from you. Are modern cartridges actually better, or are they just newer? Would you trust a .30-06 over a Magnum on your next hunt? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're choosing between performance and hype, be honest about it. Don't forget to subscribe to Firepower for more real-world breakdowns, like this.